Welcome to the Political Matrix News. Politics, people, local, regional, national news. Political Matrix News keeps you informed. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix.
Hello, we are back now. This is Greg Fink here in Gainesville, Florida with a Political Matrix broadcast, Political Matrix News broadcast. And we got Jonathan Cole over there in Navarre, and we have Tiffany Houston in California. And I was asking if anybody remembered the old term swing or not. And I don't think anybody did during the break. But anyway, we are having some fun here tonight. We are now going to be talking about the NPA march. They're marching. They're marching really well. RFK Jr. is actually polling around 16% nationwide, which, of course, as a pollster, I laugh at the nationwide polls because it's not a nationwide election. This election is still won by Electoral College and state by state. But that being said, he's going to be probably getting enough poll numbers to be on the debate stage. And Joe Stein is actually polling. What?
He's in Ross Perot territory.
He is in Ross Perot territory. And with Joe Stein combined, that's 4%. And, usually, with a name like Kennedy and a name like Stein, you think they'd probably be like taking the left wing stuff away from Biden. However, Kennedy is running a very progressive, conservative, unique and weird campaign of border control. And he's just pulling out everything out of the air. Anything pro-Trump, anything pro-Biden. And Joe Stein, of course, will probably pull from the liberals. But with Biden and Trump being so close, it's a total free-for-all. We have no idea if Biden or Trump are ever going to make it. That's the funny part about all of this. We got RFK Jr. at 16%, Joe Stein at 4%, Biden one stroke away from being out of it, Trump one stroke or one indictment away from being out of it. And so we have no idea how the table is going to be set 5-6 months from now. But the way it's set right now is very interesting. Tiffany, what do you think?
Well, I honestly don't take Kennedy very seriously.
He's a Kennedy. He's a Kennedy. His family loves him. They've endorsed him.
No, they haven't.
No. Did you see the big family gathering on St. Patrick's Day with Biden?
Was it green beer?
No. It was a big family picture with all the Kennedys and Biden. Pictures. And if any search on the internet will show different family members talking about how they don't think he should run, they don't support him.
They're jealous.
So,
what do you think? What do you think?
Well, kind of go back to the points about the two special elections that happened recently. The impact was the independents. So in research today, I came across, let's just say it could be a prophet. I just want to read some things.
Okay. Does the prophet have a name?
I'll tell you after I read it.
Okay.
This was at a Republican event, but this person, who's actually pretty well known, says, "I think we're going to lose more seats than we otherwise would with Trump because there are just too many suburban swing voters that just don't like him, that therefore vote against Republicans."
Okay, that could be Bill Kristol.
It's actually Paul Ryan.
Paul Ryan.
Oh,
pretty close.
Yeah, well, but I mean, he had some interesting things to say. He said he didn't subscribe to the nationalist populism of Trump, which is this is what he says. He says, which is where the bulk of Republicans are right now, and also called the current GOP a cult of personality tied to Trump rather than based on a set of principles. That's a very profound statement because even
I agree with him.
If you asked me to describe Republicans 30, 40 years ago, is principled people.
Exactly.
That ain't the case anymore.
No.
I mean, he said, but finishing up, he said, I think we're going to lose more seats than we otherwise would have with Trump because there are just too many swing voters that don't like him, that therefore will vote against Republicans. So he's kind of almost talking about a blue wave in a way.
I see a blue
but we're actually what I'm saying is what I'm getting at though is that already with the elections we've seen since Dobbs and Florida 35, it's trending that way because it's the independents that are standing up and speaking. The Democrats are doing their usual lukewarm, whatever party apparatus electoral campaign. They're not doing anything different.
They're just going to waste money.
The independents that are standing up. Like I said, in Florida, in 35, it was 66 something % independents. That was the vote for the Democrat. And it was even larger in Alabama 2 days ago. And it's getting to that point now where, like in Santa Rosa County, where we're at, there's three parties, and Democrats come in third. NPAs are the second largest group after Republicans.
Right.
And you make assumptions, and some of them, it's kind of a catch can. Some are libertarians, some are disaffected Republicans, some are disaffected Democrats, but a lot of them aren't swayed by party politics. They're more issue based, and right now they don't like the issues that the Republicans are campaigning on. These last two special elections, I think, bear that out.
Yeah, I think
so. But how do you tell Donald Trump, if you're Republican, that he needs to change how he's running for office?
Tiffany, what do you think?
Well, if you guys have been paying attention the past few years, any dissenter to MAGA is sees their way out one way or another from the Republican Party. And I grew up in a Republican family, and nothing like the cruelty and the just nothing like what it is now, MAGA. It's been hijacked, and it's been hijacked by an authoritarian movement. It's bigger than a cult of personality, a cult of a strongman. It is an authoritarian movement, and they're all in. And if you're not on board, you're going to find your way out of there. And a lot of these people I know, because I've either been communicating with sources or I have been reading a lot, actually. Just people who have been threatened, people who have, had to hire security. And I went through that. I went through that in Florida, being threatened and harassed by people in MAGA. And so it's not the same party even 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
I mean, Jonathan and I have been involved in campaigns for the last 25 years, 30 years, easily. I think probably 35 for Jonathan. Tiffany started working with us in campaigns for the audience, full disclosure, about 2 or 3 years ago. And and we have been threatened, tormented, and just, demoralized by a lot of people who just do not like our opinions of the facts over the last 25 years. But and we got tough skin over it. It's just the way it is. But whenever you're doing this to people who are not in campaigns, who do not have tough skin, who are just basically volunteers trying to help people out, and they end up becoming Facebook fighting and Twitter fights, and then end up, once they actually do meet each other, into verbal and physical confrontations. That's when this whole political movement here is just on both sides just going too far. It's the Republicans are picking a fight with the liberals, and the liberals are picking a fight with the Democrat or the conservatives, and basically everybody's giving into it. And right now, the authoritarian MAGA crowd and Antifa crowd and is basically it's a mess on both sides. That's one thing, is that it's as much as we do talk about MAGA, because that is the 800-pound gorilla in the room, there is still that same type of scenario on the left wing side, but they're not really talked about very much anymore because they're very silent right now. They're very quiet right now. In fact, they don't have a microphone at all, pretty much, at the exact moment. The only one with a microphone that's going to hold the microphone is Donald Trump, his crowd, and Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and all the people who want to keep vacating speakers of the House because they do not like their opinions, and all of them at the same time weakening that Republican Party that you're talking about, that Paul Ryan was referring to. Paul was referring to a party that was built on principles, built on ethics, built on morals, not built on knee-jerk reactionary authoritarian tactics. And basically, people like Matt Gaetz, who hated Paul Ryan, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who couldn't stand Paul Ryan either. And whenever, Kevin McCarthy was just more or less a carry-on of Paul Ryan and their opinions. And so, I mean, their whole idea of the moral, ethical Republicans is they call them weak people or weaklings. And basically just, people who want to get ran over. Instead of, realizing you can actually lead with principles. And Newt Gingrich did a very good job of that. Now, we all might disagree with Newt Gingrich, but Newt Gingrich did a very good article last week saying, the people like Matt Gaetz are the worst kind of Republicans in the House, period. I mean, you have to, at the end of the day, you had to have some sort of moral fiber and moral code. You have to believe what you believe. You can't just do all this for fundraising. I know these are all people who just basically need to get a quick buck, and that's all Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene are doing, are fundraising off of this. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is nothing but a huge fundraiser for their piggy banks because they don't like to talk to lobbyists. They don't like to talk to anybody who actually has anything to do with government working in any direction, like the right direction.
Right.
They seem to think it's a sellout if they're actually talking to people who understand public policy. It's not a sellout; it's part of your job. And what they're doing is they're selling out the people. They're selling out their values. They're selling out the morals. And and I mean, we see this with the NPAs. That's the reason why Jill Stein is doing so well. RFK is doing so well. And people are leaving both parties. Minorities are leaving the Democrat Party in droves. African Americans are leaving quickly to go to NPA. They're not going to Republican. They're going NPA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do think this is going to be something that we really have to take a look at over the next, I guess we got 30 more weeks, 25, 30 more weeks of the election here.
I'm okay with a third segment that has a voice. No, I do not want a third party because if we had a viable third party in this country, every presidential election will be decided in the House of Representatives. And that would be a train wreck. The two-party system works, but and it's happened in history before where there are segments that came out and spoke and they got people's attention. The progressive movement in the Republican Party and around the end of the Gilded Age, La Follette, some of them,
in 1904, 1906,
they got Teddy Roosevelt elected, who'd be a Democrat today.
Yes,
he was the world's first tree hugger.
I'm related to him, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Congratulations.
And then there's been other groups that, over time who've found a voice without forming another party. It's like I was telling you the other day, we haven't had a third party candidate or an independent that's actually won electoral votes by winning states since George Wallace in '68. Even though
I think Candy can pull one out.
Huh?
I think Candy can pull one out. I think he can pull out.
He's not going to win Massachusetts. So
well, maybe not Massachusetts, but
well, that's the home base. If you can't win your home base, then you're Evan
Muskie. He also lives in Florida as well. He's a partner at the 11 law firm in Pensacola, Florida. So he's a partner there at that law firm as well.
So he's got a post office box of Halifax. Yeah. But no, he's not going to
Massachusetts.
He's not going to win Florida. I see him as like a new version of Perot. Just the fact.
And what do you think about his vice presidential candidate?
Again, as we talked about, there's no rhyme or reason to his campaign. He seems to have missed the point that you choose a vice presidential candidate because they might get elected,
which is prettier
and
than
then
he
that
is,
person is a heartbeat for the
sniper.
presidency. And a corporate lawyer has not had the experience to be president of the United States. Sorry.
No.
Tiffany, what do you think of her? You're in California. I mean, she's a tech lawyer. I mean, we have AI as a feature.
She doesn't have any experience, and I think when you're running for vice president, you've got to have some experience. That's not
a tech lawyer. We have AI as our feature predator. That should be it.
Maybe
she can handle AI.
Greg. Go ahead, Tiffany.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, so I appreciate that she is an extremely successful independent businesswoman and patent attorney, and she's really pulled herself up by her bootstraps. I do appreciate that about her, but we just need people with experience in politics. Just having a businessman like Trump come into politics and just do the damage that he did to our it's just, we need people with experience.
Even Ronald Reagan said anyone that runs for the office of president should have, at a minimum, chief executive experience, governor of a large state.
Well, that's because
he
that's what
begrudgingly said maybe senators, but even he noted that the job's too important to thrust upon someone with no experience.
Yeah, I mean, and granted, that's what we got with Trump. I mean, Trump was just totally a train, a guy, a captain of a train, driving that big train down the tracks, and no experience whatsoever. But he got more votes. Now, at the end of the day, the most experience doesn't matter. You got to get more votes. Now, he got them in a very curious way.
Well, it was also it was a realignment election.
Exactly.
People don't realize it's a sad state of affairs, but after 8 years with the first African American president, this country wasn't ready to step right into the first female president. It kind of needed to go have a hangover somewhere and kind of puke its guts out and get itself feeling better before.
Unfortunately, the version of that, we end up getting COVID. And so that was not really more about puking our guts out.
Well, what I'm just saying is that
8 million people dying.
There are a lot of reasons for the outcome of 2016, and we've talked about a lot of them, but one of them was it was kind of a realignment, a recalibration election that just, there was no way you could have two presidents that were that monumental side by side. This country just had to take I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying it's what happened.
Tiffany, were you a Republican at the time of the 2016 election, or were you a Democrat at the time?
I was a Democrat, but I did not vote for either Trump or Clinton. And I voted third party, and I regretted that significantly.
Jill.
Was it Stein?
So I thought that, Libertarian Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah, Gary Johnson.
Okay.
But I thought Hillary had it in the bag. I really did. And I wasn't too...
She fell out of the car.
I wasn't too crazy about her. I'm just not too crazy about the Clintons. And I was never going to vote for Trump. I mean, I knew he was, from the time I was a teenager, and I'm like, what in the world do people, my parents had his books, and I remember reading his books, and I'm like, what do people see in this guy? This is, what a freaking weirdo.
Well, you know, he has a Bible now.
Yeah.
He's selling the Bible.
The only one that he endorses or he approves of, the God Bless
Bible.
America. So
actually, for a limited time, you can get a leather-bound Bible and a pair of gold sneakers for $200.
Exactly. That's his new product that he's selling.
I don't know what other what other evidence people need to see that, look, this authoritarian movement, this Christian national, it's not even, sorry, it's not, I don't even think it's Christianity. I think it's pseudo Christianity. Whatever mess that they've created,
Christianity.
I think is so obvious what they're trying to do. You know, they're trying to use Viktor Orban's blueprint of Hungary and how he created a liberal democracy that has.
No, their blueprint was published in the 1920s in Germany. So.
Oh wow!
What? Okay, you know what? No. You're not gonna get away with that. Hey, this is not Nazism. Okay. They're crazy,
fascism.
They're psycho, they're weird, they're not Nazis. They don't want to kill all the Jews.
Well, no, but that didn't actually happen until after the Wannsee conference in 42.
Yeah, I know.
That's when the extermination happened.
Right.
But they were saying things a lot like Mr. Sabatini was saying about the mayor of Baltimore.
And for those who don't know, Sabatini is a guy who's running for Congress and hopefully going to lose badly.
Yeah,
down here in the Orlando area.
But two lessons that people don't know a lot of times. Well, a lot of people know, but Germany went that way not because everybody became a National Socialist, but because the great majority stood by and did nothing.
Exactly.
The other thing was religion played a much larger part in their rise than people realized. The very first diplomatic treaty that was signed by Germany after Hitler took power was with the Catholic Church.
Right.
The Vatican Concordat. Mm-hmm. That they actually likened it to the rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire.
Yes, it is.
Now, as things moved along, they kind of distanced themselves. And there were some very outstanding cases of Catholic priests and nuns in Germany and other places that gave their lives in some case. But they were started with the marriage between that church and that government.
Right.
That's Christian nationalism. How else can you paint it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because if the church backs it up, then it must be good. You know, so.
But I don't see this current MAGA movement as being anything Christian at all.
No.
I think that his whole idea of him selling the Bible is disgusting.
Oh, it's
totally disgusting.
Oh my goodness, it's such a disgusting grift because it's during Holy Week. It's right before Easter.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but what is he going to court for with,
it was literally
with
like
hush
when
money
they had the golden...
for sleeping with a porn star while his wife was recovering from giving birth?
It's kind of like the CPAC. There was a CPAC a few years ago where they had a golden statue of Donald Trump. And it's kind of like the golden statue of Baal, as they refer to in the Bible, in the Old Testament. I mean, or the golden calf, as they talked about during Moses and the Ten Commandments. Charlton Heston and all those guys played on CBS and NBC really well. And so I mean, that's where the comparison is. And any kind of idolatry worship or idol worship, I mean, it's just, I don't think this movement is based on religion. It's based on ego and purely.
Well,
simply, and that's it.
It is a cult.
Hedonism and ego. And
it's not any different from Jonestown, except he hasn't had them drink Kool-Aid yet.
Yeah.
But, it's frightening how, they interview them and they're like, he can do no wrong. He's God's chosen one. And if you look down the symptoms of what's a cult, I mean, one of them is your followers think you're infallible. You can do no wrong.
Yeah, his followers are a little scary like that.
Yeah,
and also the followers of Biden actually. I'm going to correct that.
But I mean, but where's the dividing line between his followers and the rest of the party? Because
that's true. Yeah,
70 million people voted for him in 2020.
Yes,
after we kind of 2016, I knew a lot of people that said, "What harm can he do in 4 years?
He's better than Biden."
In 2016, what harm can he do in 4 years? And then for 4 years, holy crap!
Well, actually, we didn't really see. I mean, everything was going very well, by the way, in 4 years until COVID hit. I mean, the economy was getting very good. Gas prices had dropped. Prices on the shelves had dropped. The economy was buzzing. Unemployment was at a record low. I mean, everything was going good. So you cannot take that away from him. I mean, and whether or not it was because of him or not, it was going good. And COVID did stop it in a dead heat. And it would have stopped anybody's economy in a dead heat. I mean, the reality is, whether that was part of Obama's economy that's left over, people don't realize the predecessor's economy always runs into the first 2 years of the next economy of the next president. Exactly. And so, I mean, a lot of it might have been from Obama's issues that he did toward the end of his term with the Republican Congress. By the way,
it's actually 3 or 4 years because as I've told people before, like.
So right now, the economy getting better right now, it could be because of what Trump did. So, you have that too. I mean, the some of the economic rebounds that we're having currently might be because of some of the policies that he did
Mike Johnson
in 2020 and 2019. What?
Mike Johnson said this economy is a disaster.
Oh, Mike Johnson's just one guy.
and he
is right. We actually talked about that. We talked about that with some of our other podcast team players a couple of days ago about Mike Johnson's article from, I guess, University of Michigan State. And he's talking about the big dichotomy here between 10 years ago prices and prices now. And he's a very brilliant economist on that. But I do think that, a lot of the issues
he's
here.
Only telling one side of the story, though.
Well, yeah.
This is a very unique economy. It is. I always look at history, when all of your benchmark, you've always heard it for years, leading economic indicators, when they're all trending up, you should be doing great. But
exactly, we're not.
All inflation taking off with it.
That's the thing, is that everything else is going up, and the prices are as well too. And regular people are not seeing it. I mean, I don't care what anybody of these guys on the other news stations say about the economy getting wonderful and great. The people aren't seeing it. I mean, our grocery stores, their prices are going up. I mean, gas, we're at $3.71 a gallon here in Central Florida, $3.90 some odd a gallon in Orlando, Florida, almost $4 a gallon in South Florida. In California, I have no idea what the price of gas is, but I'm sure it's very high.
It was $4.29, but a few weeks ago it was like $3.89.
I mean, nothing's going down to help the people.
No. Last time I was in California, it was $6-something at the gallon.
Oh, you were up there by San Francisco.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too, yeah.
And so, I mean, San Diego area, I guess it is a little bit more affordable.
But I don't think we've ever had an economic situation like this before.
Yeah, it is very weird. I mean, the stock market's through the roof. Donald Trump made $3 billion in his IPO. I mean, of a fledgling,
still pending a lawsuit,
which is of a fledgling social media company. And
he valued his fellow investors.
It's IPO.
I know, but it's
what it is. Yeah, you made some money. Do them.
The last time we had economic indicators rising like this was early 50s, when we started really seeing the benefits of the post-war economy. Consumerism was up, wages were up.
What's also up is the credit. How much you owe on your credit card. Yeah, that's what a record high. And so that's the whole thing, is that people, I don't think, and this is kind of like what we talked about a few segments ago, about this is a Jerry Springer country. It's a reality TV country. This country loves to be entertained, and I don't think they give a damn about being in debt.
No, they don't.
Think they care about the government being in debt. I don't think they care about, obviously, they don't care about themselves being in debt. They want to feed their pleasures. They want to feed their, and that's one area to go back again to Donald Trump. The authoritarian thing, people overlook the authoritarian side of it because he feeds their ego. He feeds his pleasures and the carnal pleasures of life.
That's how those people build power.
Selling Bibles is not a conservative thing.
But Hitler rebuilt the confidence in a defeated, war-torn country. He brought back German pride. He created jobs. He brought back food. Legitimate gains. Does that mean he's a good person? Hell no.
No.
But I mean, if you were a German,
he read the cards.
watching all this happening, and then you're hearing all your news from Air Goebbels, so you're only getting one version.
Right.
There were people that went the whole 5 years of the war and still thought the Poles attacked Germany.
Same thing with Vladimir Putin with Ukraine and Russia right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they all think that Putin's actually saving the Russian homeland from Ukraine attacking them.
But we had a conversation a while back. It was people of the same age as me, but different backgrounds. But we were talking about how going back to that post-war economy that lasted all the way into the early 70s. When I was a kid, my dad was the sole wage earner.
Right.
He paid for our house. My mom was a housewife. That's what she wanted. And I'm not saying that women's places in the home. I'm just saying. And we had 2 cars, and there was money going into savings for college. And where did that go?
It had to go. It had to go because of the economy. Whenever I'm about 10 years younger than you, and I was, both of my parents worked their butts off. They both worked 40, 50, 60 hours a week.
No, by the time I got to high school, my mom started working. But I mean, before that, it was his wages were, he was a manager of a small factory in Apalachicola, but he supported the entire family. We weren't, well to do by any means, but we weren't starving, and we took some pretty impressive trips and went to Disney World the first year it opened. But I mean, that family doesn't exist anymore.
It's tough.
Both spouses working, sometimes want to work 2 jobs. A lot of times when 2 spouses are working, and one of them's really only paying for the babysitter. And it's just
that's true.
Where did all that go? So watching this economy now, wondering what's going to happen, because you always get to the point when things are trending up, the law of nature, at some point it's got to start trending down. And typically cost of living never trends down.
No, it doesn't.
So it's here to stay. But it's, like I said, both sides can make very cogent arguments that they're right as far as the economy is growing great. The economy is a train wreck. In some ways, they're both right. It's a weird situation.
It is.
But it's going to be interesting to see, because, as they said in 92, it's the economy, stupid.
Yeah.
The economy will always be a deciding factor in any election.
I think and that's the reason why I think the NPAs are coming out to go ahead and recap and sum it up and bring it back to where we started. The NPAs are marching, and they're, I think there's going to be a lot larger movement, and we'll probably talk in a few segments from now about a third party or fourth party. And as messy as that might be, I think it's going to be a necessary evil. Tiffany, what do you think?
It's got to be a viable party, and I just don't see that it ever getting to that point.
Well, don't you think the viability, though, is in the numbers? If you have the numbers, they'll become viable.
It's going to create, every 4 years, you have a presidential election. Nobody gets to 270. So whoever has control of the House has control of the White House. Or Congress, I should say. That's not a good situation.
Yeah, because right now we have a Democrat who resigned today, I guess. Is going to be stepping down. So right now the House numbers are so close between Republicans and Democrats. I mean, I don't think it'll be like that forever, but for the foreseeable future.
Well, actually, but that's a discussion for another show too. But like, if Gates and his crew and their 8 votes hold out, then the Democrats are strong. Exactly. You'll have a minority House Speaker.
Yes.
And so then we go back to what are you thinking, Matt?
Well, that's once again another show that we will have very soon, because whenever we want to talk about Matt Gaetz, fuck.
Everybody's in agreement on that one.
Who knows what he's thinking? Yeah.
He's got to have a plan. I just never know what it is.
He has a plan in his head, and I'm sure he knows exactly how it's going to turn out.
Maybe
everybody else does.
Maybe in 16, 20 years, he's the Democratic president of the United States.
He could be. He might be. But guys, we're going to go ahead and close up here tonight. It's been a good little long session here. We're right around 35 minutes for this segment. So you guys, thank you so much for staying tuned and listening to our wonderful conversations here. We really appreciate it. And this has been another episode of Political Matrix News. And we'll be back next week. We'll probably be back before Easter. And wish you guys a happy Easter. But you guys have a good, wonderful evening. Bye.